So, thank you all for being here. So we are here to talk about The Bat, which is going to be presented this Friday at Hungarian House as part of the Rehearsal for Truth Theater Festival. And we have with us the author, the translator, and the director of the play. Um, and so thank you, three, for joining. And I know we're all in different time zones, and I'm very glad that we had this chance to get together. Um, so I am gonna ask you first, Krisztina, as the author, the origin of the play. How did you first conceive it, and what led to writing it?
First, I would like to say that I'm very happy and glad to be here with you, and I'm really happy about the reading. So I wrote this theater play uh, 4 years ago, and that was not the first play that I have written, but this time I was thinking about something absurd. I wanted to show the extremely divided Hungarian society in another context. That's why I put the story in a nursery, because the characters of this play behave in a really childish way. And I think the irony and the absurd language is something typical in Central Europe. It is our mother language in literature. So I thought that the kindergarten will be a good place for the story. And I wanted to write an absurd crime story.
Terrific. And then, Sylvie, uh, how did you first encounter the play, and what led you to include it in your book of plays, which is how I encountered it to begin with. Sylvie has a book of Hungarian plays, so we'll talk more about soon. But what led to that?
Mhm.
Okay, sorry. Well, first of all, I want to say that it's a privilege to be talking to you all. Thank you. Yeah, I'm in Manchester. I'd rather call it Rainchester because it's always raining in Northern England. So I need to tell you that I have known Krisztina for a few years now, because I was interested in her short stories to begin with. And then because I'm a theater maker, and my area of expertise is drama translation, I had the idea for the book. And for me, what I was really looking for is resisting playwrights, because really my book is about how these Hungarian dramatists are starting to resist what's going on in today's Hungary. And, given Viktor Orban's myopic view of society, and homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic policies in place, I was especially looking for plays that are kind of offer a microcosmic view of today's Hungary. And so I already knew that Krisztina thought like that. And in fact, she was recommended by another playwright, János Hai, whose plays I have also translated and directed. So I've read Kristina's earlier play, Pokemon, and then I decided that The Bat is just perfect for my purposes, because I'm really interested in otherness. And the woman here is othered. And of course, she is resisting what's happening in her society. And as Krisztina said earlier, the fact that she set it in a kindergarten, in a nursery, is highly relevant because and the way I directed it here in Manchester was actually to really highlight that world of childlike, child egocentric behavior. And I actually made my audience be the nursery, and I gave teddy bears out. And I mean, it's a bit cheeky, it's my own just interpretive way of doing it. But this is why I've included it in the collection, Edward, because it is dramatic, it's exciting, and as she says, it's it's a whodunit, really, in many ways. But it's the anti-hero. I'm very interested in the anti-heroes, and the female character is a anti-hero in many ways.
Great. Thank you. Ildiko, if I could turn to you, what drew you to it as a project to direct, and having started the process of rehearsal, what's sort of come out to you about the play as you work?
One of the main thing I try to do with the actors is to understand the circumstances and the situation and treat it as real as it is. So somebody reading the play might think it is in the vein of absurdity, and you can absolutely say that because the situation grow into absurdity. But I think the base and the understanding that this is reality, it is how it is in Hungary. I think it's a very important approach to the material. So we had discussions, and I chose a Hungarian actor for the male role, and I chose a very experienced veteran actress for the mother role, who both by talent and intellectual would understand, the context of these very absurdish situations, which I'm saying that it is, unfortunately, it is as real as it can get, in everyday Hungary.
Terrific.
As Szilvia said, it is a microcosmos, and in this microcosmos, I wanted to describe the extremely polarized society of current Hungary. And the whole story turns around a small rubber bat, which is a toy. It's not important, but the characters start to behave in an irrational way. That's why Ildiko said it is a reality. In an authoritarian regime, people start to behave in an irrational, authoritarian way. And we don't have information, we don't understand what is happening, because parents have only suspicions. They are racist, envious, and they have full of unprocessed emotions. And that's how Hungarian society is now.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is that there is this social veneer, or but the moment something gets into the wheel, it explodes, exposing all the ugliness, suspicion, fear, despair. So there is this civil society, but it's very easy to scratch that surface, and what is under it is not so.
And absolutely, and for me, the word that comes out very strongly is the demonization of our female character. And she's successful, she's a woman, she is creative, and that's really uncomfortable. for Hungarian society. And so you know, you could argue that it's about trying to silence creative, strong women, and that is why in my book, you know, the title was Difficult Women and Resistant Dramatic Voices, and the character, our lead, the protagonist, is that difficult woman. And absolutely, there's very little place for difficult women in Hungary because they get silenced.
Yeah, I definitely do feel, and it's pointed out in the play as well, that she is successful, but at the same time the ageism, the predatory environment, and all that, you know, dooms her to fail, you know. So
and you know what's really interesting about doing this play? Obviously, I've directed it here in Manchester, and it was sold out, and I was so surprised because I had my own kind of fear about, you know, who will come and see a Hungarian play, you know, and all of that, because of course Britain has some incredible playwrights, and it's you know, there's a lot of new writing, and people absolutely loved it. And I felt like I needed to explain the context. And then somebody told me actually afterwards, saying, look, Sylvie, we hear the context, but it works over here as well. So there is a universal value to this. And people could relate. And somebody who said, oh, you know, I have separated with my spouse, I'm going through this. That bit felt really real to me. This idea of, you know, swapping kids' objects, you know, the signifiers. So there's so many other resonances that work, even if, you know, our audience is not aware of the anti-liberal democracy that we have in Hungary.
Illiberal democracy.
Yes. Krisztina, could you talk about the original presentation of the play? This was originally done 4 years ago. And could you talk about that like presentation and the reception to it?
I wrote it during the COVID, so there was an online presentation in Hungary, and no more after. So the first real presentation with public was in Manchester.
Yes.
And I was really happy about it. And thanks to Sylvie, I could see that it works on stage, because it was really important for me that the same actor plays all female characters, and the same actor plays all male characters. And that's how I wanted to show how we behave differently in different social and gender roles, but basically we are the same person. And it was particularly important for me to have the same actress for the mother and the daughter.
Interesting.
You don't need to be psychoanalyst to understand that. And I don't know what is the final solution for the reading. I asked Ildiko about the actress playing the daughter and the mother. Can it be the same person? Oh, it's perfect. I'm happy about it. I wanted to show how we are identical with our parents, and during our life we struggle against them, that finally we do the same mistakes. And everybody knows the scary moment when you enter in the bathroom and you see at the mirror your father's or your mother's face, and it's so terrible to understand that you cannot be really different. You can try all the time, but basically you do the same mistakes. That's why it was so important for me to have the same actress for the female roles.
And what a difficult job for the actor. I mean, our rehearsals, the way I did it, I don't know if that's relevant here, if I can just quickly share this with you, because of course there's a budget problem as well. You know, I had very limited amount of money, and the way and the actress was so concerned about learning all those lines and being on. I didn't have the budget to do the screen, you know, the Skype screen. So what I did is we saw the Skype, she did the voice, so she was acting out as her own mother, but we didn't see it, so she was behind the laptop, and that worked as well. So I managed to solve a technical difficulty, but I did a Brechtian you know, dramaturgy in my mise en scène. So I had the actors come on and say, scene 1, mother's house, and then, you know, and I had to be creative because of my, you know, I had a small set, I had a very limited time, and but it worked, you know. And I was, of course, so worried when Krisztina came to Manchester and with the Q&A. What will she think, you know? And it's this very special relationship between author and translator, Edward, and I'm sure you all know about this, that you want to please, you know, the source text, the author. It's a love relationship, you know. You fall in love with the text and you want to give it justice, and especially when you're a translator and director, it becomes even more heightened, that reverence to the text, but at the same time you want to exist through it as well. You want people to notice your work as an interpretive artist. So it was wonderful when Krisztina and her husband loved it. It was fantastic.
Great. Yes, definitely. That I've done some translation. It's really, it's an interesting connection, because I feel like it's very connected to directing. And so there's the interpretive part of translation and the interpretive part of directing, but they seem to go hand in hand a little bit sometimes. But then you end up with a new director who's going to bring it in a different way. And so Ildiko, do you want to talk a little bit about the ways you solve that the mother question, or do you want that to be more surprise for the
I
audience?
want to see it.
I would be honored to do a production of this, because I do have things that I am not able to right now do for this reading. So, and it's obviously it's a special structure, you know, for the reading. I would love to do a full production of it, but due to, you know, the Hungarian House technical ability and all these other factors, and because of the reading, it is going to be a fairly straightforward reading now. And then hopefully we will talk with Krista about a future.
And that's the beginning. The reading is
something. Sorry, Szilvia.
No, I was about to say that, you know, reading, straightforward reading, you know, we need to appreciate that exists, and that will lead to other things, I'm sure. And hopefully, you know, you can get some foundation to support your grant, or I don't know, but
yeah.
All starts with a reading.
Yes, and look, I mean, it's still the most of the work has to be done to understand, to work with the actors, to really give back the story, you know. So it's not without work, even a straightforward reading. But I do see certain technical aspect that I would love to add. And I collected all these present billboards, and I do have the material, but unfortunately the timing and the technical situation didn't allow me for this time. But I am still very excited about, so it will, I hope that it will not take away from, you know, from the enjoyment or hearing the play, you know, this way.
I wanted to add something about the bat. I wanted to explain something about the bat, why the toy is a bat. There is a Hungarian author, István Örkény, who represented the absurdity in Hungarian literature. Let's say that he is the Hungarian Rozsák. And in the preface of his famous book, 1 Minute Stories, he explained what absurdity is. And he says to the reader that bend you over, grab your ankle, and look at the world upside down. This is the absurdity. So the bat is an animal which is hanging upside down and sees the world like that. And also this is an animal which can navigate in the total darkness. And it is important to understand the context.
Yes, and can I butt in that, Krisztina, when she explained this in the Q&A, because we had after the premiere we had the Q&A with Krisztina, and she explained this. And you know, when we talk about navigate in the darkness, anybody who knows about contemporary Hungarian politics, you know, knows straight away what this she refers to. That darkness is our government. Yeah, and it's and of course. Another thing, Krisztina, which when I interpreted the bat, and Ildiko will have her own interpretation, but for me was also the other, you know, it's very much, you know, even the nursery teachers, like, why does this kid have, it's hated, it's othered.
Yes.
The bat is not cute.
Yeah.
It's not furry.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, you know, it is true that so many superstition and, you know, associated these stories, and we all fear in some level, or most of the people fear it without knowing about, you know, this creature.
Yes.
And I think that's how we create monsters, you know, that's how we, you know, that's
I
the
think you make a
process
very
of
good
prejudice.
And on the end of the story, there is always a victim. Don't forget that on the end of the story, there is a victim.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you have an open ending, Krisztina, is very has a very deep meaning, because of course we don't really know. And this is also can have a political resonance.
Yes, I wanted to have a cliffhanger, and I wanted to create this ambiguity on the end of the play, because I think I wanted to have an unsettling effect on the audience, because it can provoke further ideas about the play, about the society, and about characters. And I think when you make such a cliffhanger, it provokes, yes, it provokes the audience. So it goes under the skin, and it don't let you leave the place quiet, because there is no solution. There is no solution. I was pleased to hear dialogues after the theater plays. And people were discussing about do you think that she did it? No, I don't think so. And that was nice to hear that, because I wanted.
Do you remember we had such a big discussion afterwards? that we had to actually, we got kicked out of the theater because we overran.
Yeah.
So that's always a good sign, Ildiko, and hopefully, I mean, even though it's a rehearsed reading, you know, hopefully it will generate that, because the words are there, you know, the story's there.
Yes.
Okay, it's not going to be in its full, you know, dramaturgical realization. I understand that, but it's a very powerful play, and obviously we all know this. That's why you've chosen it. But yes, people could not stop talking about it, which is a very good sign.
Yes,
I mean, it definitely, yes.
No, go ahead, please.
I mean, I think that's a strength of it, that you know, it leaves up to us. It asks us to question or judge for ourselves. But more importantly for me, it even goes further, that to think about that, what are we basing our judgment of, or
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And I think that could hold up, you know, certain mirrors of our own prejudices and judgments. So I think yes, I think it's a very, very strong ending with that, like the cliffhanger.
And I find our audience are generally very eager to engage on the subjects of the plays. I think there's a real interest in Hungary for this sort of work. We've been getting good audiences and strong responses, and I'm quite sure this will as well. And yeah, so it's interesting that it always leads me to want to have a full production, but I'm very glad to be able to introduce it in this form and see where it leads. Krisztina, can I ask you about your experience as a writer who is writing about these themes in Hungary? And what it's like to be a writer in Hungary right now who's interested in addressing these themes?
Oh, well, it is a complicated question. I feel quite uncomfortable as a writer in current Hungary. Now currently I'm living in London, and the next year I would like to move in Switzerland to keep distance with my country. But I feel the responsibility to write about things which are happening currently in Hungary, because I make up of a generation who was like Ildiko and Szilvi, who was socialized before the regime change, and that was the regime change was an enthusiastic moment of our life, and that was so different from our childhood, and we expected a completely different world, and now with the what is happening in Hungary is quite worrying, and the society is, as I already told you, extremely divided, and as a young people, we already saw the dark seeds of racism, nationalism after the regime change, but we never thought that the society will go to this direction. And it is very important to leave a trace and describe as precisely as possible what is happening right now. Because writing process, it's not only the work, it is an understanding process as well. And as a writer, I have to understand what is happening and why it is happening. So that's why I have to understand my characters, for instance, in this theater play, and I have to understand why do they behave in this strange, extreme way. And it is the same thing for the society. I have to understand what is happening.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Sylvie, so you have a book of these plays that are dealing with these difficult topics and feature difficult women. Um, do you find a strong commonality among the authors and the plays and the what they're going through in the subject?
What a great question, Edward. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, so I guess the 5 plays I have chosen, and mind you, only so it's 3 authors and 5 plays, and Krisztina is the only female playwright in this volume, which also represents statistically how this is divided in Hungary. That there are not many female dramatists. Now I understand that Krisztina is relatively new to drama, but this honestly it's completely ruled by men, really. Okay, that's an aside. So what the overarching theme and that each protagonist in these 5 plays, I guess, behaves really badly, and there are anti-heroines, and but for different reasons, but all to do with how society doesn't allow them to flourish. So and it's pretty extreme. The ones I've chosen, one ends up killing her husband, the other one, the other character in the play, by János High, sells literally her son, or moves on for gain. She keeps marrying rich and richer men, and she forgets about her son because of this kind of financial gain and walking up the social ladder. Then we have another character who ends up murdering all the old people in the old people's home, and doesn't bat an eyelid because you've got to do what you've got to do in this capitalist world to survive, and old people are obsolete. And then of course we have Kristina's heroine, who again we don't really know how decent she is, because and I guess what really interested me in analyzing these women is, yes, there are difficult women, but we would call, if they were men, we wouldn't call them difficult. They would just be men. So I guess I am approaching it from kind of a radical feminist point of view. And if you do read the introduction to these plays, it'll become clear. And obviously, I don't want to just go on about my book here, but I think overall, I hope I've answered you that they all behave badly. But the question is why? Because society doesn't really allow them to have fulfilling lives, and it's pretty much a response against the status quo, against the oppressive regime, and that's why I've chosen them.
Krisztina, speaking about one of the things I was interested in your play is that it's not just the men who are difficult with the women, it's the women who are difficult with each other. And I want to maybe hear your thoughts on the way that sort of manifests in Hungary, and the sort of sexism that can also come from women.
As Sylvia already told, it is a male. I think basically it is a male-dominated society, and the literary world is a male-dominated world. So I try to show in my short stories, in my novels, and in my theater plays the prejudices, and to show, I repeat, the absurdity of this disproportional world, because every time when I make a reading abroad, I realize that the gender of the author is rarely in the focus of the reading. And in Hungary, it keeps to be something interesting to be a female writer. And there are little changes, but not a lot. So I think it's very important to write about it.
Going back to Hungary and the situation, Ildiko, so you've been based here in New York for a very long time, but and doing work here. Um, I was wondering, in what ways the current world and the situation in Hungary, but also over the world, has impacted you and your theater work here in New York.
Is a question to Ildiko?
Ildiko, yeah.
Yes.
I can't see Ildiko anymore. Sorry.
I don't know.
I can see all of you. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Look, I mean, I have my personal story, with Hungary and why I came here and how I came here. When I read Kristina's play, these characters absolutely familiar, and I recognize my old past. We are, I think, the same age, so these characters are engraved in my memory. Back in Hungary, I'm not living there for a while, but I do hear the news or read the newspaper, or I'm going home visiting. So I see that it is the changes or the certain behavior or social. So I feel that it's a generational thing. So my mother generation went through so many things, and if I'm looking at that nursery teacher, or I'm looking at the mother's mother, so you can see those patterns that cannot be changed one day to another or by declaring a regime change, so these are inherited, just as and I think it will take decades, long time, until we can change or understand what happened during communism and before Nazism and before. So there it's very turbulent 20th century. So it felt very, very familiar, and when I'm going visiting, I see this character. This is very much my experience, as well as Hungary, or it captured something that speaks to me very much, the play. Regarding being in an, it's again, I feel like I'm talking about personal journey here. I do feel that America gave me much more than Hungary ever willing to or would allow me to do. So I am very grateful for that openness that I find here. And because possibly I was also a difficult woman, woman in the arts, and I mean all these judgments, that coming through very funnily in the play. I was on the receiving end of all those things. So I do feel that here I do have that very precious opportunity to express myself freer and more openly. than over there. So, yeah. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I just want to see if there are any last thoughts. I have to say I'm very, very much looking forward to putting this play up and seeing what you've done with it, Ildiko, and hearing the audience response. Uh, so I'm excited about that. Are there any thoughts further thoughts you want to leave the audience with? They might be watching this before or after, who knows?
A practical question, Edward. Do you record the stage reading?
Excuse me? I'm sorry.
Do you record the reading, the stage reading?
That is a complicated question. I can talk to
I would like to
Ildiko
see.
about it because it depends on.
Unfortunately, I cannot be there. I cannot
Yeah. We can look into it. There are questions that we'll have to discuss with the actors, is my answer.
I guess. So sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
Yeah.
You said if we had any kind of
Yeah.
final thoughts, and I might want to just read out like a 2-line quote to kind of say, what is a difficult woman, and maybe the audience to engage with that when they watch the play. Because I really wanted to engage and embrace Cheryl Strayed's definition, and who says that difficult woman is really another way of saying female and brave enough to express the full range of one's humanity. Quote.
Oh, thank you. That was nice.
That's beautiful.
All right. I'm going to ask you, Sylvie, if you could hold up your book. I just want people to see it. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
please support
Yeah.
Central European Draft.
Great. Thank you. And
Thank you for this great opportunity. And I would like to thanks to the actors for the reading. So I would be really happy to see and participate at the reading, but unfortunately I cannot travel at the moment. But thank you again, and thank you, Ildiko, directing the reading. And also thank you to the Hungarian House for hosting the reading.
Thank you for me as well, to all of you, for your interest and your dedication to Kristina's work and my translations. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for both of you. Thank you for Edward. Thank you for everyone to make this happen. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to talk about contemporary Hungary. So thank you for that, Krisztina. Yes.
Thank you, Ildiko.
I'll add my final thank you to all of you for creating the play and directing the play and translating the play and doing all you did that we were able to bring it into the festival.
Thank you, Edward, for organizing this festival and this Q&A about the play. Thank you.
So thank you so much. And I think that's all for I'm going to end the recording right now.